Ever played a gig to just the bar staff and sound engineer? Or found yourself alone carrying an amp through the streets at 2 a.m?
Have you ever had to busk for your next meal? Or do you find yourself awake at night questioning your life choices?
Ever asked yourself, why the fuck am I a musician? Don't worry, you're not alone.
And this is the podcast for you.
I'm Hana Piranha.
And I'm Mish Fitzgerald.
And this is Wingspan. Hello, it's your favourite witches back again for another podcast.
Yes, indeed. Happy to be here. Hello, Miss Piranha. How are you today?
I am good, thank you. Yes, I am looking forward to my visit on Friday and doing all the Hana Piranha stuff, which is very exciting. So lots of big things happening. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm coming out of a bit of a funk. I've had a really low month mental health wise. My hormones have been brutal and yeah, just having a bit of a difficult time with lots of brain fog and depression and anxiety and all the fun things that come with that. Yeah, I've not been having a great time, but today I feel like better than I have done in a really long time. So I'm hoping that this is the coming out the other side. Bipolar fun. I've been really busy as well, so it's been relentless and a bit of a slog at the moment, but I've just come back from Crete actually, which was lovely. So I had a 6-day break in the sun, which was wonderful. So that's done wonders for me. And yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to get stuck into today's podcast because it's going to be juicy.
Yeah. So what's the podcast title, Mish?
My Sister, My Lover. Yes. So do you want to unpack a little bit about why we've chosen this as a title first?
So our last video, Welcome to the Bitch House, contains a few intimate scenes between me and Mish. And so there's a lyric in this song called My Sister, My Lover, which kind of sums us up a little bit in a weird way.
Yeah, definitely. It is weird.
Yeah.
I remember when you wrote it and I thought, yeah, this is a cool lyric anyway because it fits into the whole theme of the song. But yeah, had to do a podcast about it for sure.
So yeah, it's a juicy one. So this podcast is about how boundaries become quite blurred between musicians. I think this is a very common thing for many musicians. Yeah, it's just funny with music, isn't it? Because I remember, we've said this on a previous podcast, but I remember when I met you and I never thought we'd be friends. Like, we're very different people. I didn't think we'd connect in the way that we did. And yeah, I guess like a big part of that was we did party quite a lot together.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
That kind of fast tracked a lot of stuff, I think. Yeah. And I think all of the stuff that's the peripheral of music as well. So it is all the drinking, all the partying, all the kind of being out in social situations and stuff like this all has a big impact in this. But I think that even just in the music itself, I think people can become very close very fast. At least I've experienced that a lot. And that I think definitely happened with us.
Definitely. When we first met properly, we'd obviously played quite a few shows together, but there was quite a bit of distance and I didn't really know anything about you. But I think the first moment that we started to connect and see that there was like some kind of common themes was when we were on the set of Bodie's Baby Tenterhooks video. And we let the mask slip a little bit in our group and we're just making really stupid, immature jokes and obviously like talking about drinking and partying. And I remember Hannah like giggling quite a lot at the immaturity of it, and also just I knew that she was okay with who we were and that it wasn't going to bother her and that she wasn't like straight, and that there was just a bit of a playful side to you that was suddenly like I knew that's what you'd be like, although we were quite different. I think we were connected over the fact that we just had similar things in common in terms of how we carried ourselves as people. And as soon as we knew that about you, then the door was open. And I think that's really when the first moment that I thought, oh, maybe we could connect together on a deeper level.
Yeah, by deeper, you mean more immature.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. When I realised Hannah was immature, it's the moment I knew we could be friends.
I remember the first time that I was like, okay, this is happening with all you guys was we did a photo shoot in Brighton. Do you remember? It was with Emma Bailey. And by the end of the shoot, everyone was singing all of my lyrics from Cold Comfort to me, but with a really bad word in them for each of them, and all the titles were changed and everything. And I was like, okay, cool. These are my people.
Yeah, it was based on silliness and playfulness. And I guess if you can have fun with people while you're doing quite hard work, which all music work is quite hard work, it's always long hours and there's no routine, and a shoot could go on for a few days or something and you all camp together. So if you can have a laugh, then that's really like the first thing that I think a lot of musicians go to is, can we make each other giggle? Can we have a bit of fun while we're doing this? Because music is fun anyway. So I think that was amplified during the shoots. But yeah, I remember that. And then I obviously, when we realised that we both liked to party quite hard together and the whole group was based around that, and I knew that the Piranhas liked to party and the people liked to party and Hannah's just in the middle of that. It was...
That's where the Venn diagram is, and I'm right in the middle of the Venn diagram of party.
Yeah, just your face. Give me the drugs. You're like, so hold on a minute. I get to take drugs with 2 bands instead of just 1? Best day ever. Like, that's what the theme of it, wasn't it? And we did have a lot of fun. But I think putting all that aside, what we wanted to talk about in the podcast is actually how intimacy can occur, not just through the partying together and all that stuff that happens in everybody's lives as well as musicians, but really where there's this real sense of intimacy that comes from being on stage together, writing songs together, making music videos together and touring together. These are all incredibly high intensity situations, and there is this real intimacy that comes with that you get even if you're almost strangers with the person. It can happen at any moment, and it's just part of being a working musician. So for me, I find stage for me a really intimate thing. Like, I feed off the other musicians, I feed off the crowd, and I feel like there's this massive kind of wall that maybe I've had up in normal life that then just breaks away when I'm on stage. And I love to reach out to people in the crowd, I love to look them in the eye, I love to sing to people, and I just love to show my true self really when I'm on stage. I feel like it's just allowed, it's a safe space for me, and maybe all the things that I probably wasn't able to express as a child, or behavioural kind of things. For me, the stage is the place for me to let all of that out and expose myself. So therefore there is sometimes quite a lot of intimacy, and I've had it with other musicians in many bands. Even before I started, the main bands that I'm in have had that intimate moments where you're looking at someone else on stage and you're singing these parts together, and then you realise, hold on a second, something deeper is going on here. And it can always be a bit awkward. Sometimes it comes up in a sort of sexual chemistry way, sometimes it just comes up in a kind of, you're just sharing a moment together. But yeah, I always feel like some of my most intimate moments with other musicians have been on stage, and even in a way that maybe I've experienced this intimacy and maybe the other musician doesn't even know that's happened to me, but I felt so much movement from the song that I've just been blown away by a piece of music that someone else has written, that I'm just feeling all of this stuff. And so for me, like, all of that intimacy comes on stage for me. But I know it's different for you, Hannah. Would you say that it more occurs when you're writing a song with someone?
Yeah, definitely. I think my experience on stage is very much a like isolated experience a lot. I feel like when I go on stage, I go into myself a little bit. It's a bit more introverted, I think, for me. But I think, yeah, where the intimacy really comes for me is songwriting. And oh my God, that's where I feel seen and heard. And yeah, writing with other people has always created a lot of intimacy. I've always felt like I'm really exposing myself to people when we're working so closely together. And that's always been something for me, that you breach that line and then you just can't go back from it, because you feel like someone's seen into you.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got any specific examples of songs that you've written where maybe you don't have to name anyone, but if there's been a song that you've written with someone where you felt like, whoa, this was really an intimate moment?
Yeah, there were a few songs in the past that I wrote about someone to someone, and it caused me a lot of problems.
Sexy problems.
Sexy problems.
What was it? Problematically hot problems.
Problematically hot, yeah. So there's definitely been that. I've often written because I want to be heard by the person I'm writing about, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably the most intimate I get with songwriting, but it doesn't always have to be like sexual chemistry. That's the best songwriting, is the sexual chemistry. But no, we write songs together, and I feel like even when we don't write together, like I'll share songs with you and you'll come back to me with them, or vice versa, and I feel like we just get to know each other that bit more, get really to know each other in our souls. And that's something I don't think really comes from just an everyday relationship. I think really, like, if you're a songwriter, those words are are expressing your most intimate feeling or like the most intimate kind of impulses of your soul almost. When you share them with someone, especially when it's not in its final form, I think that can create a real sense of intimacy.
Definitely. And I think we've written songs in Eris as well where I wouldn't necessarily describe like the moment we wrote it as intimacy, but we're definitely sharing like a secret message. And I love that in songwriting form. I always find that like putting some kind of power into the song that no one else is really going to understand, but I know when I sing that line, I know that Hannah knows what that line's about and what we're saying together, and it's this secret that we share together, like on almost like a very literal level. We're like, we know what that means, but the audience maybe is a bit lost at what could be the deeper meaning to it. And that's a cool thing because you feel a little bit like you're in some like secret club and like you're like suddenly like the cool kids at school or something and no one understands your secret language. It's a bit sad. I love that in songs as well when we write stuff which to us it means something and then maybe to the audience they're interpreting it in a different way. It feels like you have this magic power of writing, and I love that when the other person knows what that song is about and the two of you just share that together. And I feel that happens quite a lot with Eris. I think it happens with all of our projects really, but certainly in Eris we've put our own messages into those songs, and that is a way that we've bonded together.
Yeah, and I think not only the secret messages, which is a really huge thing, but I think there's been a lot of times in Eris where we have laboured over a line. Like we might have spent a whole day's songwriting just to get this one line, and only we know how precious the line is because it was so difficult to come by. So I feel like when you have that kind of experience of someone like that level of work and then that level of breakthrough, I feel like that is also a really important thing that kind of binds you together.
Definitely. And I think that's really where the bonding between musicians happens, because someone else is not necessarily going to understand how it feels to be a musician and how it feels to not only expose yourself, but just do all of this work, like you're talking about, just slaving over the song to try and get it perfect. And only someone else who's been involved in that is going to understand. And therefore you do get this really deep bond as a musician that you just don't get with other people. They're not going to understand the complexity of the relationship and the song and everything that's gone into it. So you do get this real kind of almost like trauma bonding together as well, where you're like, oh my God, that was such a savage gig, and you kind of bond together over that. And when you feel beautiful together on stage, you also can feel terrible together on stage, and again it's just another way that relationship just deepens and you cross these boundaries without even really noticing that they're there, because you've just been through that experience together and you're thrown together in that way. And I think you're right. I think when we first met each other we probably didn't expect that we'd become friends. We are really different, but I feel like life has thrown us together in a very deep way, and we've just worked together because of that, and we've just tried to help each other and do that in a musical way because that's the thing that we both care so much about. I feel like that's really where like my sister my lover comes from. It's like everything we've been through together and come out the other side, and the fact we'll always support each other in that way.
Actually, the other thing I just wanted to say about the being on stage thing is, as I said, for me it's like a bit of a maybe more introverted experience, but one thing that really does create bonding for me from gigs is, as you say, when you have a really bad gig or when you have a great gig and like you're traveling back and forth from gigs with people, and like some of the moments I felt best about bandmates have been from that. I remember a gig last year that we played that was really savage, and the last trains were like already gone for Jim, so I just drove him back home, and it was just a real sense of like solidarity together.
Yeah, you do, just sharing those moments together. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's hard, but it's also beautiful because you do get these really amazing friendships. You don't really get that with work colleagues. You might be like matey with people at work, but with musicians they're like your family whether you want them to be or not, and when it works it's beautiful.
Yeah, you go over and above, don't you? Because you know everyone else is doing that for you. No one's there because they have to be there. Everyone's there because they want to be there. So you have that real bond with people that they're in it for like really good reasons.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it gets a bit difficult as well. Like when you haven't worked with people for if let's say you've got like a new person that you're working with or something. I've experienced it where it can be quite weird because you've been doing this for so long that you're like ready to go with the music video or you're ready to go with the recording, and then you'll suddenly realise that you're being really full on. Not in a bad way, but you've done this so many times. So you turn up at a shoot and they're like, oh, could you do this? And you go, yep. And then you just go in and just go 100%, and they're all standing there, whoa. And you're like, yeah, that's what I do. It's my job. And often in ways I feel like sometimes I overshare like the parts of myself now because of this experience, because I'm just so used to exposing my creative side that it just comes out in that way now anyway. So I feel like it's not just that you've bonded with people, but you've become more of a performer as the years go on. So I think sometimes it's almost difficult to form new relationships in music when you've got so many good already existing relationships. So I think, or you can just go from zero to 100% in front of people and maybe shock them a little bit because you're just used to being that character already. But it's also really cool because then people are like, oh wow, that was really good, or that really made the video, or you're like, I like what you did there. So I do enjoy that. But we've definitely made quite a few music videos that are like really full on, especially in our genres of music.
I was just going to ask you, what's the last time you really felt I'm overdressed for this job, or overqualified, or let's call it overqualified? We mean too big a personality, really.
Yeah, oh God. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but I do know that I think the last job that I got where I was like being in a video with someone, I was like, oh, what should I wear? I was like, what's the theme? What's this? And they were like, I don't know, like jeans and a t-shirt. And I was like, what? I was just, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, that's how normal people dress. Like I was so ready for the theme and, oh yeah, we're wearing black, or we're doing this and this is the theme and I want you to be like that. And there just wasn't any description. And I was so used to being like, what are we doing today, Satan?
Yeah. I remember Anna had a bit of a baptism of fire with Bird Eats Baby when she joined, because we put her in a bra that was about 10 sizes too small for her. We just put her in this spiky bra.
Yeah. It wasn't just a bra, was it? It was like chainmail, like a chainmail wonder bra. I can only describe it. And it was like, whoa.
Yeah. So I think that was when she was like, oh, okay, I'm in this kind of band. This is the band I've joined.
Yeah. And 2 music videos later, we had her suspended in the air on a chair, wearing just underwear again. It was like, okay, I guess this is the underwear band.
Yeah, we've been in underwear for quite a lot of shoots, actually. Hex album cover as well.
Yeah, I mean, oh shit, yeah, that was really full on. Yeah. To be fair, I like my underwear. I like wearing underwear. It's fun. Like, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? But yeah, I think, that's a really good example of like where intimacy is suddenly enforced.
Yeah, I think music videos a lot. I guess it's probably the same with actors and stuff as well. You're forced into really intimate situations that kind of just to get a good result, but actually the chemistry of the result is actually achieved by a really awkward situation, like for actors with sex scenes or something.
Definitely. And you're just professional, you get on with it, but sometimes it is a bit weird. I imagine it's slightly, I don't want to say easier, but I imagine like with actors, because it is a job of acting, you become a character. But with the musicians, you're hanging out with your mates as well, and then creating this really weird stuff. So it's a very strange combination, isn't it? I find it would almost be a bit easier if you turned up and there was a bunch of strangers and you were like, this is what we're doing, we're acting. Whereas with the band, you're like, okay, guys, I've got this concept, it's a bit weird, we're all going to have to get a little bit close and sorry. And it's quite embarrassing sometimes. You're just like, oh my God, like, this is really weird. But it's all for the sake of the art, and everyone knows that. And that's when you know you've got a really good bunch of musicians, when everyone's just up for anything. Not anything. They understand that there's an artistic nature to it. We're not just trying to create stuff for the sake of being shocking. It's, this will serve the song. And I think when you get a musician that understands that, then you get a really strong bond. How about in Hana Piranha? I know there's a few weird music videos moments that you might have had where it was intimate when you didn't really want it to be.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can think of one that seemed like such a good idea on paper. I was like planning it for ages. This is going to be so great. Basically, I wrote this song called Voyeur, and it was about what it says in the lyrics. Like I was basically in a situation with 2 other people. And so we thought we'd make a music video that literally was completely on the nose with it. I thought it would be great. And yeah, I had all this like big vision for it. And so did Aaron West. And the whole thing was awkward as hell. So awkward. We had these 2 like actors who did it, and like from the moment they arrived, I regretted all the things I was asking them to do. It's one thing doing it yourself, and it's one thing if it's like a professional shoot, but this was a shoot with no budget. Like, people were doing me a fucking favor, and it was just really awkward and weird. And I think the thing I learned from it is, if there's going to be like weird and awkward stuff to do of that nature, I'm just going to fucking do it myself. Like, I can't really ask other people to do that.
Yeah, or just find people like you and me who don't really have a moral compass and are down for anything.
Yeah. And who, let's face it, everyone's already seen it all. So, like, we're not exactly, like, revealing anything.
I just know there's so many videos where I'm like, this is what we're going to do. And Hannah's like, yeah, that'll be cool. Instead of going, oh, that's a bit much, to be like, no, that's great. That's going to be really sexy and fun and cool. And we've just got on with it. I can't count probably on two hands how many music video shoots where Hannah and I have seen each other naked. There's been a few, or at least done something very strange together that just involved, like crossing boundaries.
Yeah, we've seen each other naked a lot.
It's just like, whatever now.
Yeah. Like, I don't even think twice about getting naked in front of you, because it's just been such a common thing.
Yeah, it's just, what we're doing. Oh, we're not getting naked today. That's unusual.
Oh, something new and different.
Yeah, that's weird. We're keeping our clothes on. No, it's not really like that. But when you make dark, gothy music that can be quite sexy, the music videos are going to follow that. And therefore, I think if that's what you want to go into, be prepared to feel awkward. Be prepared to feel like, oh, this is a bit much. Because when you see it back through the lens, it'll all be worth it. And you'll have made something that's really daring because you've dared to do something like that. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but if you're writing music that does have this really artistic kind of dark edge to it, be prepared for your art to be a bit strange and go with it. I don't think between the two of us we've ever said no to an idea, and I would say for sure that we've always followed the vision of the song, and that intuition will never be wrong. If the song needs some kind of really violent, strange thing, then that's what the song needs. If the song needs it to be sexual in nature, just find a way to make it work that isn't going to be too much for everyone, or do the stuff yourself that you're comfortable with. I think it's almost impossible to not become intimate with your bandmates when you make really odd music videos, and we've just done so many weird, fucked up things now. It's great. The last one just involved us basically jumping around a fire, like with almost no clothes on, covered in blood, and then Hannah was just like basically covering my boobs with her hands. It was very intimate. Let's get on to touring. Touring's definitely like probably the most intense I think you can get with anyone, I think. Yeah. So we've talked about on stage how you can be intimate with someone and how it's different between me and Hannah, and then songwriting. And I would say that stage for me is more intensely intimate, and for you, songwriting is where you feel seen and heard, and then probably have had more experiences of intimacy between it. Music videos, they just get weird, boundaries are crossed, it just happens, and that's the way it is. And Hannah and I have definitely had music videos where we've been like together as a partner as well, like during the videos, and I wouldn't even say that makes it easier. In some ways it makes it a bit weirder, whereas when you don't have those lines crossed, I would say it's sometimes a bit easier because you just get on with the professional shoot. Yeah, I would say that our relationship has definitely gone from not knowing each other at all to being thrown together, to being a bit in love with each other, being together, then being like, this is way too much, it's definitely going to explode, let's step back, and then the relationship becoming a deeper friendship on a deeper level, more professional, and then we just carried on making art together. But I would say that the most intense times that any musician can experience intimacy are definitely when you get into the tour bus. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's literally no space. There's no physical space when you're traveling with people in a band. And yeah, like our last tour, it was weird if we got changed in a room with no people. Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, no one's watching. This is weird. I better wait till someone comes in. Yeah. But that kind of thing, like, you just get used to that, and that becomes your everyday. All of these weird things that most people wouldn't dream of doing in front of other people, whether it's getting naked or like sleeping at 3 a.m. or what did you say? Farting, all of the things that come from just being in other people's space 24/7, and like all of that stuff just becomes really normal. I just remember that Anna's costume broke in a really inconvenient place, let's say, and Hannah was just there in her crotch sewing it up. That was like day 6 or something, wasn't it? And you were just sewing Anna's crotch, and you're like, only this would happen to musicians. Yeah. You can't get much more intimate than that. And Anna, and then I was filming it, of course, because everything goes on social media, so there's not even any boundaries between you and the audience. So we had Hannah sewing up Anna's crotch and then we put it on social media. So yeah, I think you can't get much more exposing than that.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well with documenting things all the time, like all of your everyday life, especially on tour or even behind the scenes with anything, like everyone sees it, and in that way there are no boundaries between you and your audience either. Do you find it a bit weird that there are so many people who know you so intimately that you know nothing about them? I feel that's where the weirdness is, really, with all this closeness and with us not really having those boundaries.
Definitely. I would say that's like a huge part of being a musician is, people know more about you than you do about them, because you're obviously the one standing up on the stage. But sometimes that does get really weird because people turn up and they like know all these facts that maybe you've completely forgotten. Yeah, it's just a bit strange, isn't it? And it's really intense. It's not a natural lifestyle at all, the tour. It's just really weird. You're completely like up close with your bandmates. And then you're up close with the other bands that you're touring with. You're all sharing a space. Even if you've got separate green rooms, you're still in each other's pockets the entire time. But then, yeah, there's no boundary between the audience really anymore, especially these days where you have to, I see bands all the time doing like VIP experiences or like backstage passes, all this stuff where basically the fan is paying extra to spend more time with the artist because the artists aren't really getting enough money. And that's a really difficult thing. I think, yeah, that kind of intimacy is exhausting, because although it's really fun for a few days, like on a 7-week tour, you're just like, I don't think I can see people for a while. You just want to shut yourself away a little bit. So it's a really rare thing if you can get on with your bandmates for that long. And I think we've been really lucky in both our projects. That's the situation. I don't know how it would be touring with a band I didn't know that well when you have such little space together.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like people who couldn't handle that, they're the ones who like drop off of the tour bus because like it's just not for them. And that's, yeah,
it's really unfair, isn't it? Because it's, if you are somebody who really needs to have space from people, it's so difficult. But I guess some musicians do it and they're able to do it really well. But again, you have to be incredibly disciplined. And I think you've got to be able to say no to stuff. And it's really hard to say no as a musician. I think that's one of the hardest things. If your management says we should do this because it's going to be good for the band, everyone just jumps to it because you want to please. But at the same time, there's not really any opportunity where you can be like, no, I don't feel like going on stage today. I feel ill. I don't want to have people looking at me today. No, I don't want to go and sign stuff. I've done this for 5 weeks. And if I have to smile again, my face is going to fall off. Without sounding moany, but yeah, there's not a lot of opportunities to get away from the closeness on tour, whether that's with your bandmates, the audience, or the other bands, or just all of that stuff. It's really intense. So anyone who is actively touring, I salute you and say well done for keeping it going, because it's a really harsh lifestyle, and I really commend the bands that do it and that's their main source of income and their main kind of thing. I think it's a really difficult thing to do again and again. So yeah, kudos to anyone who's doing it. It's a hard job.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're lucky because we no longer like to party, and when you don't drink or do other stuff, your social battery is a lot smaller. And we're really lucky that we still have bandmates who do like to party and who do really like that social experience after shows and stuff like that. And I feel like that's really lucky, because I feel like if we were, say it was just the two of us, we'd have to work out how to work that into our routine, because that's a necessary part of being on tour as well, is that bonding experience. And I feel if you're on tour with other bands, that inter-band bonding is really important as well. So it's great if you've already got the bond set up with your own band, and then they can go and carry the baton for the other bands and for socializing with them.
That's a really good point, actually. And I think that's one of the benefits about being in a band with a group, is that you can say to each other, I don't have any battery left today, barely getting through the show. And then it's great because your bandmates can come forward and be like, I've got the energy today. What do we call it? We call it passing the brain cell. We're like, who's got the brain cell today? And it'll be like, I don't have the brain cell today. I just walked into a wall and I've dropped my makeup on the floor. Can you help me? And someone else will be like, you know what? I can handle merch today, or just go and do this for 15 minutes and then we can just pack up early tonight and stuff like that. So it's really good. I don't know how people do it as a solo act. It's really difficult, because even though I'd say there's less people in the group, it's more intense with a smaller group, and you have to do everything yourself. There's no one that's going to sell the merch for you unless you're lucky enough to have somebody come along and do that if you're at that level. But Otherwise, you're in the tour bus or in the car with everyone, then you're hanging out in the venue, and then you've got to sell your own merch, and that's really intense. So there's quite a lot of enforced intimacy, I think, that we probably wouldn't choose to do if we could. We need those clones. We need to start working on them. Can AI clone just a version to just stand at the merch desk and do my sound check would be fine.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Just do the bits you like, and then the rest of it, just the AI clone could come forward. It'd be great.
Imagine all the loadouts.
Oh, it'd be great. Be like, Cloney, come here. Can you carry my piano? Thanks. You're a total babe. Yeah. And then the clone's like on stage. You're like, what are you doing? That's the fun bit. The clone's, fuck you. Anyway, sorry, getting dystopian. Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else you'd like to add about the intimacy of touring?
Oh, one of the first tours I did with Birdie's Baby, I just remember like being sick in a bucket. Came back from like a 30-hour flight or something, drank a whole bottle of whiskey, and then I was just in the back of the van being sick in a bucket. And I think that's as intimate as you can get with other people. And of course, they were all fucking taking photos.
I don't remember this. I must have been shit-faced, to be honest, anyway. But yeah, that's pretty rock and roll. And what are you going to do if your bandmate's getting sick in a bucket? Except take photos?
You've just got to accept that, yeah.
You just got to do it, yeah.
I just remember like certain tours. We were so fucking immature. I was thinking of this the other day, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, like, I really hope like none of this shit gets aired at some point, because we used to be so immature. Do you remember? Like, tour was just one long party, basically, like weeks long party, and you never wanted to be the first person to fall asleep at night because everyone else would just draw on you. So it's just, we were just children.
Drunk children, yeah. Children with access to liquor.
I feel like we've all grown a lot, but like that was the level of our kind of like back then. So let's draw penises on someone. That will be funny.
Yeah. Let's make them sign a contract on a pizza. That was a good moment. And then eat the pizza and be like, that's your contract, mate, because we thought that was really funny. For a new band member, that didn't last long, did it? We were very immature.
Yeah, very immature. I remember the first band I joined that I was probably a part of, and I went out the first night with them. We drank like this crazy Slovakian vodka, and I went out with them and lost my coat and lost my phone, and I was on a train to Paris the next day, and I don't know how I made it, but I woke up in this bed and I was like, fuck, but this is like kind of what happens.
I remember a particularly hilariously intimate moment on a Birdie's Baby tour. This is the tour when we were playing the songs from Tantafiore, and we finished the night all in one big spoon. We were all spooning each other on one mattress because that's where we'd found to sleep. I'm sure they had provided beds, but we've decided that this one mattress is where we're all going to finish the party. So we're all spooning each other, and all of us are like singing Eulogy, but all our different parts together. So Gary was going like, doo with the bass, and then Hannah was like, no, and like all perfectly like an a cappella version of Eulogy. And Hannah was so out of it that she thought our drummer was a chair. I'll never forget that night. That was a special time.
And then you were sick in a plant pot the next morning, right?
Yeah, I was indeed, yeah. I remember carrying the fucking piano like down 8 flights of stairs because there was no lift in the building, and I did one trip, came up and then just had to vomit in a plant pot. It was so grim. But yeah, I do remember thinking like, these are my people. No one's going to turn around and be like, what are you doing? Because they're all doing it too, so it's fine. I just want to say one more thing about that, which is that I think when you are a musician, all of the musicians that I know are neurodiverse. They're all really out there. They're all quite strange in their own beautiful ways. And we're all a strange bunch, artists. And I think we share this intimacy because being with another musician, they're the only ones who's going to really understand what it's like to have to make art and to have to say the things that need to be said that you can't say in the normal way, and to feel things so strongly that you're just moved and compelled to live this crazy lifestyle. And I just think all of that mad stuff we did, I wouldn't take any of it back. I think we've come through it and we've learned through it and we've written some amazing songs in the process, and that's what art is. We truly have been living that art. And I think it's safe to say that we have sobered up and we are more settled now, and we've got better boundaries with all of the process that we have now, and we're certainly in a better place. And that's beautiful because I feel like we're in a real position of strength now in our careers at exactly where we should be at the age that we should be. But yeah, I just want to say that we've come through it all, and I think we wouldn't be who we were if we hadn't been immature dickheads.
I was just thinking about the various bands I've been in over the years, and actually the amount of lines that have been blurred for me and the amount of people that I've had to stop working with because the personal relationship got too much and it just overshadowed the professional relationship. And there's been like more times than I care to count that one or the other of us has had to retreat from that situation because it's just too much. And yeah, that's ruined a lot of creative relationships for me, I'd say. And that's when you know who your people are, because like if we'd been different people or had a different chemistry, if you and I had a different chemistry, there's plenty of situations I think that could have made us go, I need to withdraw from this situation, like I can't handle it. But yet here we are.
I would 100% agree with that. Again, it's like, what are we doing? Are we going to kill this thing that we've made? And I think neither one of us were ever prepared to do that. And so we knew the point where we were like, okay, we need to sort ourselves out. These boundaries are too much. We need to just settle down a bit and remember why we started doing this in the first place. And and now it's like a different kind of intimacy. It's like a deep friendship kind of intimacy. And I feel like when you've seen your friends or your bandmates or whatever in situations where you're like, let's never go back there, that you know each other really well and you've seen each other at your best and your worst, and then you know each other so well that you're okay, we know we can hurt each other and we know we can help each other. Let's now never go back to those situations where we would ever hurt each other. Let's help each other. And I feel that's why you're my sister and my lover.
I think for me as well, like I'm sure like you can say the same, but when I was younger, that door was wide open. I had no boundaries. I didn't know even what a boundary was. Like that door was like wide open. And now my life's very structured and settled. And actually that door's locked shut. I do have very firm boundaries and I don't really mix a lot of that stuff anymore. And I think I haven't really joined in new bands or anything like that. And I think maybe that's something else to do with it. I feel a bit vulnerable with musical connections because I know where they can lead.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's about knowing what your limits are and knowing the people who you know you're going to be safe with as well, I think is a big deal. I've done a lot of touring with our groups. I've done touring with other bands and other people, and I can see the edges of something that maybe could turn toxic or just something where I'm like, okay, I know how I need to be in this group and I need to be very boundaried because you've learned from the past. But yeah, I would say you're definitely a much more boundaried person, as am I. And you've got to go through it. And we definitely came from a place where we had no clue what we were getting into. And I think that's another reason why we might have bonded, is that we've come from very similar backgrounds where we just didn't really know what boundaries were and just wanted to make art but didn't realise how fucked up the industry was.
Yeah. If my younger self was listening to this podcast, I would probably say it's normal to be a musician and to have these boundaries blurred. And I would also say it's possible to set boundaries.
Yeah. And also not to beat yourself up if some boundary does get blurred. I think as well, it's really worth saying that as a female in the industry, there's an extra level of connection, especially where you're working with someone and there is some sexual chemistry. Like, it's really difficult for us to balance it because there are a lot of predators in every industry, in every walk of life. So you've got to just be really careful, generally as a female or someone vulnerable, that people might try to take advantage of that, or they might try and get to you through the music. And that's a real thing that we've both experienced, as people like preying on us and using the music as a way to get to us, and it can be really dangerous. So it's great, I would certainly say, surround yourself with other females who understand that and can support you, and make sure you have a really good group of other female musicians, other diverse people, other people who know what it's like to be vulnerable and who will never fucking cross that boundary or use you. And then you're able to go into situations that maybe would have been a bit more dangerous in the past because you've got that network of people who know you that and can be like, oh, hold on a minute, that person's not acting as they should do, or do you really think you should do this opportunity? Maybe it's not right for you, or just the kind of sounding board of people who know what that's like.
Yeah, I think it's not a surprise that the bands we're in also have other women.
Yeah, it's definitely gone that way. I think over the years I've worked with more women than men.
Yeah. And even just to have women around you who get it, because I can think of one situation recently. I was doing a bit of work with this guy and I remember you just going, does he know you've got a boyfriend? Because you were getting probably a bit of spidey senses.
Yeah, definitely getting a vibe and being like, hold on a second. Just having another female around you who can like just double check stuff is really handy in this industry. It's really dangerous.
Yeah, I think the moment you said that, I was like, oh, if your spidey senses are going, probably this isn't a safe situation for me.
Yeah.
And there's been actually a couple of situations where I've been oblivious to stuff and your spidey senses have gone off. And when you've got people you trust that you listen to when that happens, I think that's really important.
It's really important, and it just keeps you safe, and just making sure that the things that you're doing with your time and your energy are not going to lead you to getting burned. I think that's quite a normal thing in the early stages of your career, and you will make mistakes and you will spend time with people that you don't know that well, and we've certainly had our fair share of experience of getting burned. But yeah, as your career goes on and you have more of a stronghold with people that you really trust, it's great to have them just check things are okay from time to time when you do go off and tour with people you don't know, or you do go into situations. So yeah, it's really great to be here now chatting about this stuff and having come out the other side. I think it's mad that we do still exist in the bands that we do.
Yeah, definitely.
Our question of the week for each other is, what is an intimate moment that you haven't shared before? Yeah, okay. It's a bit of a weird one for me. It's a bit of a painful memory, to be honest. But when I first started playing in bands, I was like 18, 19 when I moved to Brighton. I was 18 when I moved, sorry. But I started joining bands, punk bands, when I was 19. And I joined this band as a bass player. And it became quite apparent a few months after joining that the singer of the band, expressed feelings for me, that it became obvious that he wanted something more from the relationship. And obviously I didn't express the same feelings back, but we were in this band together and I enjoyed the band and I enjoyed where it was going. So I allowed his behaviour to keep going and keep escalating. But it got to the point where he started writing songs about falling in love with me that were quite obviously about me, and we'd be on stage and he'd be singing these songs and we'd catch each other's eye, and I just remember it being like painfully intimate. And it's weird because like on stage it's such a different space for me than it is off stage, so I would have these really intimate moments and it would feel like the song, because the songs were quite beautiful and heartfelt, and I would feel like, oh, this is quite a beautiful moment, but then off stage it would be like, this is not happening. But for him, the blurs between being on stage and off stage just stopped existing, and he became more and more badly behaved, and eventually it just went horrifically wrong and I quit the band. And yeah, we just had like a horrific kind of breakup band moment. It was really bad. But he was a horrible person anyway, water under the bridge. But yeah, I do remember like having these really intense moments on stage with this person that was just a bit like, it was too much. And then it was really funny because then I left the band and then he started writing songs about how he hated and putting them out, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that one's about me. And then it was really funny because there was this whole collection, there was like almost an album of songs. You could tell when he was like falling in love to not being in love, and then like hate. It was just really funny, and it was really immature, like looking back, like he was so immature. But I was like 19 and this guy was like well into his 30s and stuff and really should have behaved better. So to be honest, it was just a bit of a weird experience. That was like 19-year-old me. If I could go back and talk to her now, I'd be like, dude, just quit that band, like the guy's a creep. But back then when you're like, wow, I'm in a band, this is such a big deal, and you just allowed it to happen. So yeah, but it was quite funny because I wrote the Birdie's Baby song Jim about him, and that was my revenge song.
Is he called Jim?
He's called Jim, yeah. So I was like, fuck it, if you're going to write loads of songs with these subliminal titles and subliminal stuff, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to write a song that is your name and that exists forever. And it's pretty cutthroat. Yeah, I got my revenge in the end, but that was way too intimate in a really bad way. So yeah, I don't want to experience that on stage with someone ever again.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like bad chills.
Yeah, it was bad chills. It was really bad chills. And because I was an alcoholic for so many years as well, there were moments where like the boundaries would get blurred because I was like not in my right state of mind. And you've got this person who's just constantly like after something and they can manipulate you. And like I didn't have any money and like I didn't really have that many friends, and he'd just buy me drinks and like support. But then it was always really twisted and it just got worse and worse. And it was like, it was really fucking toxic at the end. And yeah, he was not a nice person. So it, yeah, escalated. But yeah, bad chills, definitely.
This is a really intimate thing to ask, but were there ever any good chills with it? Did you ever get a thrill from being on stage and being sung to in that intimate level? Absolutely, yeah. There was a feeling of power because I was so young, and I came from a background where I wasn't really cool. Like I wasn't a cool kid. I joined bands and that was like all I really wanted to do. So when I was in this band and I was playing, and sometimes we played like quite big shows and it was really exciting. And then the two of us were like together in this moment where we're like, oh my God, we're winning at this music thing. This is so great. People are enjoying our music. And because we wrote together, he would write most of the lyrics and stuff, but I would help with writing. He sung songs that I had written as well. So there was this whole thing of us supporting each other
with these songs. And not every song was a love song. Like, we wrote a lot of just stupid punk songs. Now when I look back, they're like really bad songs anyway. But at the time it was like, wow, like we've made a song and we put it out together. So of course there were like really beautiful moments where I was like really in love with us on stage. And if I could have just kept it as us on stage being those people, then it would have been okay. But it was the fact that off stage, there was no difference to him on stage, off stage. In his eyes, we were always going to be together. And that was all he could see. And it was constantly me pushing back, but then continuing with this project. So there were some moments where I was really like, this is amazing. But probably because I was just really drunk.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Knowing where the line stops, like knowing that actually that on-stage connection does not equal an off-stage connection, and being able to leave stage on stage, like knowing how to leave something on stage that only belongs on stage.
Yes, definitely. I wish that could have been the case, because for me, like, what happens on stage does belong on stage. I'm a very different person on stage as I am off stage, and I don't think those worlds should mix. I think you're performing, you're acting, you're being an actor when you're on stage, in my mind. Yeah, it definitely shouldn't mix. But after that, I started Bird Eats Baby and just went into a band with 2 females, and it was just completely different. I was fronting the band straight away, and I was working with these 2 like other kind of really strong creative females. So to go from that really toxic situation into that, it really stood out for me. It taught me what should be a band and what should not be a band. And I wanted, after that experience, I was like, I'm never being in an unprofessional outfit again of something that could even be construed to be something more than music and the band.
It sounds like it was an amazing lesson for you that the band fell apart so dramatically.
Yeah, definitely. And it was creepy because the next bass player who joined did become his girlfriend. And I know it did not end well. And it was like watching a car crash from a distance. The whole thing was so fucked. And yeah, I think he still plays music in the Brighton scene. And I know that nobody really likes him. So everyone thinks he's a twat. So it's like, he didn't change.
Dodged a bullet.
Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah, yeah. I was running from that bullet. It was not like a dodge. It was like, get the fuck away from me.
It was like the Matrix, right?
Yeah. I'm just like, wah. Yeah. But yeah, I will never forget those shows and that experience of that kind of like intensity where the lines just should never have been blurred in the first place. But yeah. Anyway, how about you? What's an intimate moment that you haven't shared?
Where do I start? Jesus. Okay, obviously I've had very deep connections with people, especially through songwriting and stuff, but I'm actually going to share something from recently. So it's like yours, but in kind of a good way. So as I've said, like the door for me between music as a professional thing and as a personal thing, that line is very clearly marked now. But I did have this moment on stage. I was playing with this guy and we just looked at each other on stage, and it was like this, literally like this jolt of electricity. It was like such a powerful connection, and I've not had that a lot. And obviously, as I said, the door is closed. Like, I'm not looking for that kind of connection, but just when it like hits you like that is a really powerful moment. And it was just really cool to have that almost like otherworldly connection with someone that you didn't expect at all. So yeah, that definitely gave me a bit of a thrill, like chills in a good way, but I left that where it was on stage.
Yeah, you did the right thing. You left it where it should be, which is on stage, which is the fantasy of stage. It's not reality. You don't want to go home with that person. You don't want to hear their stories.
You don't want to listen to them sleep.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to their snoring or any of that shit. Like that, the fantasy is the fantasy. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's a bit like a lightning bolt on stage between 2 people. It's like Cupid's arrow just between 2 people on stage, just because like you hit the right chord or something at the same time and you're like, oh, cool. And then you're like, oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Oh. And then you're like, oh shit. Oh. But yeah, you're like, oh, that was intense. And then you're like, okay, time to pack up the show and go home to my boyfriend. Bye.
Yes, I'll leave that exactly where it belongs.
Yeah. I have to say that's one of my favourite things about being with my partner Gary, is that we have this connection on stage, but obviously because we're together, it's like it can just be really fun, because I don't have to worry about then going off stage and being like, right, this is me. Oh, that was great. And we have that connection. I've never been with a musician before Gary, so that's been a new thing that's been part of my life. And not new, been together ages, but having that intimacy on stage and then off stage has been like a really cool experience. I know there's a lot of like musical partners out there and you share that being in the band with someone. And I know you've had that in previous relationships as well, where you've had the intimacy on stage and then you come off stage and you're like, oh, that was so good. And you don't have to worry about being cool.
That's been amazing. For all the fallouts I've had, there have also been some really special experiences. I think we need to get you and Gary on the podcast at one point to talk more about this on-stage, off-stage connection.
Yeah, we do need to get him on the podcast. Yeah, I think it'll be a very funny one. Yeah, there's a few people on our list, isn't there, now? So I'm looking forward to all of the guests. But yeah, that was great. Should we move to the weekly whinge?
I've actually got a pretty good one this week. Okay, so I shop on Vinted, and recently I've been looking for dresses for my photo shoot. So I'm a size 8, so I browse like all the dresses for size 8, and everyone's got what I can only describe as like melon tits, like everyone in these photos. And I look at all these dresses and you're like, I love my body, but I definitely don't have melon tits. And I just look at all these dresses and I'm just like, I don't even know how this is going to look on me. Sorry, but who's repping the flat-chested girls here? I can never find styles until I wear them. I have no idea, because I can never find anyone who's modeling these styles unless they're stick thin, which I'm not as well. And I just feel this is the kind of hardship I have to face.
I know, being a flat-chested woman, it's so irritating, isn't it? Like all the bras just with massive boobs, you're like, I don't know how that's going to look on me. But yeah, I don't understand why they don't have mannequins of different shapes and sizes in the windows. It's literally, they expect everybody to be a size 8 with massive tits. And it's like, that's never happens. That just never happens. Like, I don't think I know one person who's a size 8 with massive tits.
Also, what are the chances that every single person on Vinted is size 8 with massive tits? I don't buy it. I do feel like digital enhancements are made a lot of the time, and it's just like sad that people have to do that. I'm sure it's not all the time. Obviously, there are like some people with these quote unquote perfect bodies, but I feel like literally, I haven't seen a single dress on Vinted when I browsed it that hasn't been worn by like a person with a model body with, I'm talking like really, I don't know, maybe like not melons,
boobs,
but like
tiny waist. Then
yeah.
Like the hourglass, and you're like, is that a thing that actually exists?
Is that a thing? Because I haven't seen that many people like that in real life, apart from Anna, obviously.
Who is Barbie.
Yeah, who is literally Barbie. Anyway, that's my whinge. I'm going to stop talking about Anna's boobs now.
Why? I love talking about Anna's boobs. Sorry, I have to go to an intimate moment, because I remember Anna left her bra here at my house, and Gary and me put one boob on each head, on each of our heads, and we wore Anna's bra like on both of our heads and tied it round in a little bow, and then sent her a picture. And I think this is only a few months after she joined the band. So you can't get more intimate than that. We're like, hi Anna, we're wearing a bra on our head. We should publish that picture. It's very silly. But yeah, that's just a moment of like unintended intimacy there, just to go back to the podcast.
I think that's when you knew she was a keeper.
Yeah. I'd love to say that's the first time that Gary and I have worn someone's bra on both our heads, but it wasn't. It's now a thing that we just do. Anyway, yeah, that's a good whinge. I do hate that we are underrepresented in the fashion industry. Flat tits. Yeah, come on, fashion industry, you can do it. Give us mannequins with different shapes, and please show us some dresses that will look good for flat-chested, column-shaped females.
Please.
My whinge is also female related. My whinge is hormones, and how there doesn't seem to be any support on what happens to female bodies, like ever. That, yeah, just all this new stuff is coming out about female related hormonal things like perimenopause, like endometriosis, like PMDD, and how these are all relatively new things, but it feels like no one really has the answers to any of them. And my whinge is that as a woman, I feel like half of your life is robbed from you by having shitty hormones. I can't tell you how much I don't feel like myself, and I know you relate to this, Hannah, when I'm in the run-up to my period, when I'm halfway through my cycle, sometimes when I'm on my period, and it's really difficult to be yourself and continue to being this person that you're trying to project that you are when your hormones basically are in charge of your personality. And I'm now at an age where my cycle's starting to go really weird, and I basically feel like it's just like robbing all the good stuff from my life. So my whinge, it's a bit of a serious whinge actually. It's probably more than a whinge, it's a complaint. It's a rant. But yeah, I just feel like it's really unfair that as females There's not really any support for that. We've only just started talking about it. And yeah, just that hormones suck and that I feel we're a bit of a slave to them. And it's just another thing we have to deal with along with all the other things. And I just want to have a little moan about it because I feel like I'm entering a stage of my life now where the bad hormones are going to start dominating and I'm just going to start crying for no reason and being really grumpy and hot and just all the shitty things about hormone stuff.
You've always been hot.
Thanks. Yeah, I know. Now I'm really hot at totally inappropriate moments. So there we go. Hot on stage. I'll be like having a moment with someone and they're like, wow, Mish is really connecting to me. And I'm like, no, I'm just having a hot flash. It's fine. Or as my friend Dan likes to say, having a tropical moment. I love that.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Having a trop. Yeah. My whinge this week is having a trop.
Yeah, that's a really serious whinge. And I know that how many times have you been to the doctor over the last year or so?
Yeah, over a couple of years I've been like a lot. And one of the times the guy just wrote down heavy periods. That's all he wrote. And I was like, that's not what I said. That's not what I'm here for. It's just really frustrating to constantly go back and no one really has a clue and they keep doing tests, but then you don't really get any answers. So you end up just going off and trying to figure it out on your own. But I just, I feel bad for like our mother's generation that had to go through all of that without anything. I feel like it's better for us, but it's still so underrepresented. Well, that was an epic podcast. Thank you. I would encourage everybody to go and watch Bitch House and then go back and watch all of the Hannah Piranha and Bertie's Baby videos and then count how many times we get naked. We'd like to know. Yeah.
Cool. I'm looking forward to edit this one and see you next time.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to leave us a glowing review and tell all your musician friends to rate and subscribe.
If you want to be on the show or you know someone who should, get in touch.
See you next time.